everyone, this is the Algebra 2 Chapter 6B review, Day 1. So in Day 1, we're going to do the first page of this review. On this first page, we are doing all of our power rules, and we are looking at these in two different forms. We're looking at them in the form of fraction exponents and then radical form. So when we see our problems, we might see them in this form as an exponent. Oh, this is terrible. Sorry, everybody. It's been a while since I've used this tool. And we will want to write them in radical form or vice versa to help us solve. I will need to get better at this. Sorry, everybody. So these are the two forms that we are going to see this page. Okay. So our first one here, number 1, whenever we have problems like this, the first thing I want you to do is try to simplify. So inside this fraction, I see I can simplify my x's. The 27 and the 125, we need to keep those in the fraction. We can't do anything with those. But our x's, reminder, when they're written in this form, we can subtract them. So if I have 5 of them on top, 2 of them on bottom, 2 of them are going to cancel, so I'm only left with 3 of them on top. The same with our y's. Our y's, these are going to cancel, and I'm only left with 6 of them on top. Obviously, if I had had more on the bottom, I would have left them on the bottom. Now this 1/3, we are going to take this 1/3 now, and we need to distribute it to everything. Now, when we distribute this 1/3 to the 27, what we're really doing here is we are taking the cube root of 27. You guys have your power sheet. The cube root of 27, reminder, is 3. So that will remain on top. That won't go anywhere. And then the same thing here. This 1/3 is going to go to the 125. So I'm really taking the cube root of 125, which is just giving me 5. So we'll have the 5 on the bottom here. Now, reminder, when we take a power times a power, we're really multiplying. So I'm taking 3 times 1/3. That really gives me x to the first because the x's or the 3's cancel. And when I take 6 times 1/3, I'm really left with y to the second. We double make sure I can't cancel anything out. We don't have any negative powers. So this right here is our answer. So whenever we have problems like this, I'd recommend simplifying first and then distributing. Number 2 here, there should be some alarm bells going off. I have a negative exponent. Whenever we have a negative exponent, we got to flip it to the bottom. So everything is going under 1. We do not change anything inside here. That's still negative 27. And same with this. The only thing that's changing is that the 4/3 is now positive. Now I'm going to rewrite this the same way I wrote it on the top there. I'm going to rewrite that the 3 on the bottom is really a cube root. So I have the cube root of negative 27. And I'm really taking this to the 4th power. Okay. Again, using our power sheet, the cube root of negative 27 is negative 3. And I'm taking this to the 4th power. So again, our yellow or our power sheet, we're going to have negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, which gives us positive 81. We double check again. I can't do anything else with this problem. So this right here is our answer. Okay. All right, moving along. On number 3, we have these next to each other, so that means we're going to add them. Throwback to elementary school, the only way to add fractions is if we have common denominators. So this one I'm going to multiply by 5. This one I'm going to multiply by 3. I now have a to the 5/15, and I have a to the 6/15, and then what we're able to do now is we're going to add our exponents. So what I'm going to have here is a to the 11/15. Notice again, I don't have negatives. I can't do anything else with this, so this is our answer. That should be a nice, easy one on your test. Okay. This one, again, alarm bell should be going off. I have a negative exponent, so everything is going to go to the bottom. Again, notice nothing inside this parentheses changes. It's just telling me to bring everything to the bottom. After we distribute that 1/2, then we'll talk about where things have to go. So just like we did on number 1, that 1/2 is going to distribute to everything. Reminder, when I take the 1/2 to the 9, you're really taking the square root of 9. The square root of 9 is really becoming 3. I'm taking this 1/2 times the -4, so I'm going to have x to the -2. And I'm distributing to the 6, so I'm really going to have y to the 3rd. Again, our last step here is to see if we can do anything, move anything. Never, ever, ever leave a negative exponent to me. So the x squared is actually going to go to the top. 3 is going to stay on the bottom. And y to the 3rd is also going to stay on the bottom. So this whole thing here is our answer. Okay. Now our next one, I need you to have noticed, this is our first one, that it's in radical form. Whenever we're in radical form, the first thing I want you to do is write it as a power, because that's how we're used to doing our power rules, is if they're written as a power. So remember, there's a 1 here, and there's really a 2 here. So what I really have here on top is 2 to the 1/2. So a square root is really, as an exponent, 1/2. On the bottom here, same thing. There's really a 1 here. So what I really have is 2 to the 1/5. Again, like we did on the problem right above this, I'm going to either add or subtract these. For this one, we're going to subtract them, and the only way to subtract is if we have common denominators. So the top one here, we're going to multiply by 5, and the bottom, we're going to multiply by 2. So what we have now is 2 to the 5/10. On bottom, we have 2 to the 2/10. We are going to subtract these. I have more of them again on top, so 5 minus 2 is going to give me 2 to the 3/10. Again, we double make sure. Do we have any negative exponents? We don't, so this right here is our answer. Notice we did not cross out the 2's. The only thing we talk about are the powers. Our last one in our power page here is, again, we notice we have some x's. I see I have a negative, so I'm going to bring that to the top. On top now, I have x to the 4th, x to the 2nd. We saw this in this power, in this problem over here. If you have them next to each other, we really add them. So what I have now is I have x to the 6th, because we added them, and then we have this 2/3. Then what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. We're taking a power to a power. I'm going to write this off to the side here. I'm taking 6/1 times 2/3. We're really going to cross reduce. The 3 is becoming 1. The 6 is becoming a 2. We multiply straight across. So what we really have is x to the 4th. If you are still confused on your power rules, reminder, we had power rules in our first half of our chapter 6. So that would be your 6.0 notes. So go look at those if you have questions on your power rules. All right, flipping page. On our next page, we had our solving. Now, reminder, we need to check for extraneous solutions. You can certainly check in your calculator, but we definitely need to make sure we are checking every problem to make sure we're doing them correctly. This first one here, we need to notice we have a square root. The opposite of square rooting something is to square it. And if I square one side, I gotta square the other. Reminder, when it's written like this, that means there's really 2 of them, and then you are foiling them. So reminder, we're going to multiply the first outside, inside, last. So when we do that, we're going to be left with x squared plus 4x plus 4. On this side, the square and square root are canceling, so I'm just left with x plus 14. Now, a reminder, when we have problems like this with I have an x squared and a bunch of other stuff, we're trying to get everything to one side, so we're combining like terms, and we're trying to get one side to equal 0. So I'm moving all of this stuff over, and so now what I have is 0 equals x squared plus 3x now, and now negative 10. Now that it equals 0, this should look like stuff that you guys did back in 9th grade. We are going to factor this. So what I have now is 0 equals x plus 5 and x minus 2. Multiplying those get me negative 10. Adding these two together gets me that positive 3. Then what we do, holy cow, this problem's not even done yet. We need to solve these. So I'm going to say x plus 5 equals 0 and x minus 2 equals 0. This x here is going to equal negative 5, and this x here is going to equal positive 2. Now, reminder, what we need to do now is we need to go check, because one of these might be an extraneous solution. So I'm going to plug negative 5 into both sides there. So I'm going to have negative 5 plus 14. Oh, sorry, we're plugging this back into our original problem. So I'm taking negative 5 plus 14, and I'm taking negative 5 plus 2. Well, if we throw this in our calculator or we do it in our head, this side here I have the square root of 9. Well, the square root of 9 is 3, so this side here equals 3. But this side here, negative 5 plus 2, is going to equal negative 3. Well, 3 does not equal negative 3, so this answer right here is bad. That's extraneous. We still should make sure this one still works out, so let's go check. I personally feel like you guys should check every problem because that tells you if you're right or wrong. I know it takes time, but you can certainly use your calculator, as I said. So again, we could plug this into our calculator or realize 2 plus 14 is 16. The square root of 16 is 4. Over here, 2 plus 2 is 4. So yay, both sides equal 4. So that means this one right here is our answer. Okay, so on your test, you'll have a problem that looks like that. Our next solving one looks a little bit different, but still very similar. 1/2 is really the same as square rooting. So to get rid of a square root, just like on number 7, we're going to square both sides. When we do that, this half and the square are going to cancel, so I'm just left with 2x minus 5. And on this side, 3 squared is going to give us 9. Now we have solving like we've done since probably 7th, 8th grade. We're going to add 5 to both sides. We're going to divide by 2 on both sides. And we're going to have x equals 7. Now again, show me that you checked. You can certainly plug the whole thing in your calculator. That is perfectly fine. And so if we plug this into our calculator, we need to make sure both sides equal 3, which it does. Yay, that is our answer. Okay, so again, notice both these are very similar, but because this one had so much more on this side, this one had way more work. On our next ones, this time we have a different type of root. So to get rid of a cube root, we need to cube both sides. So reminder, you do the opposite of your root. This side again, cube root and a cube are canceling. I'm left with 3x minus 1. On this one, I have 2 to the 3rd, which is 8. And then again, we're just doing our algebra skills. We're solving. We're dividing. And I have x equals 3. Again, I need you to check, and it can be a quick calculator check. Make sure both sides equal the same thing. And yes, when you plug this in, we get 2. So yay, that worked out. This one, this is our first one that does something a little bit different. I'm going to put a star next to this one. I'm going to say I have a ton of people who will need to study this problem right here. First thing we need to notice is there's extra stuff on our parentheses. So the first thing you need to do is get rid of all that extra stuff. Okay, so now I have x minus 1 to the 2/3 equals 81. Now we talked about this. To get rid of a fraction, we need to do the reciprocal. So to get rid of 2/3, we take the power of 3/2. We take the power of 3/2. Now luckily we talked about this on the front. The bottom number here is our root. So I'm really going to take the square root of 81. And then remember, this number up here is our power. So really taking this to the 3rd power. Now there should be some alarm bells hopefully going off for people. Whenever we square root things, we have 2 answers. Reminder, we have a positive, negative. So when I square root 81, I'm going to get positive negative 9. Now, when we take 9 to the 3rd, we are going to get positive negative 729. Now, over here, remember, we had all of this. This is canceling, and I'm just left with x minus 1. Now, because we have 2 answers, we're going to write this twice. We're going to have x minus 1 equals positive 729, and we're going to have x minus 1 equals negative 729. Luckily on both of these, you're going to add 1 to both sides. So this x right here is going to equal 730. And this x here is going to equal negative 728. Okay. Again, I'm going to have you guys check both of these. You can just do, again, a quick calculator check. You're going to plug 730. When you plug in this power here, put it into parentheses so your calculator knows all of that goes together. And again, you should have both sides will equal 162. And even on this one, you will have that both sides will equal 162. I, again, feel like you guys should personally check every single problem so that you know that you're doing them correctly. If both sides